Okay, so this time we're going to look at Zoopla. So let's pull up the list again. Um, so what we want to look at Zoopla is to use these sold properties, sold property prices, and find out a little bit more about the property. And firstly, we're picking up ones which have not sold since 2006, 2007, as we can see along this line. So if we swap over into Zoopla. So I've put in the search criteria up above for the postcode for sold house prices, and put it in for SA1 1JH. So one of these postcodes. JG did I do? I did 1JH. So look what I did. Let's go 1JH. Anyway, you come in here with the sold prices, and let's go down to say this property. Yeah? So we're looking for 413, 32 Castle Street, apartment 413, sold in October 2007, so meets our criteria, 2006 or 2007. And if you go into the details, and we saw some of this when we did the option stuff, if you remember a long time ago. If you then go down to the bottom of Zoopla, Zoopla gives you various pieces of good information, but if you go down the bottom, it gives you a bit of a plotted history of that property. So if you look here on the information it gives, it tells you flat it last sold for 115 2007, which we know. Yeah, and if you go back here, we know that. So it's 115,000. Don't know why it's coming up as 1JG. Seems to have been a problem with the postcode. Anyway, let's ignore that for now. It will tell you a bit about the history of the area, how relevant that is. Pinch of salt is. What it'll also tell you, sometimes it will tell you if it's currently for sale or for rent. So it'll tell you up here, which obviously is very useful information and information that we want to capture. Go back to the spreadsheet on the analysis. Then if that property is currently for sale, then we could pick up the sale price history. What it'll also tell you, and this is probably even more important, is whether that property has been up for sale or for rent, but not actually sold or rented. So in this particular example, it tells us that the property was listed for rent on the 12th of May 2015 for £510 per calendar month. It's a studio, so it might give us a little bit more information. And if necessary, which often is not, but if necessary, you could go into that, and it should then give you the material that was used to advertise the property at the time. So hopefully that comes up. Just waiting for Zoopla. Yeah, so property history tends to crinkle it up because it's archived, just to re-emphasize its archive. So it gives you some photos, page of the photos, property description. Just tells you about that. So it doesn't tell you massive amount normally, but it's useful information sometimes. So it tells us a bit more about the property. So then when we go back here into the analysis, and when we look at apartment 413 and we do the analysis, not sure if you've done 413 in here. Just have a quick look through. Maybe not. But what you then do is come across here to the Zoopla aspects, and you'd be able to put in some details about the property. Yeah. So let's for example assume it's this property, and then under the Zoopla, so we can say it was for rent. what date was it? So the date going back in was 12th of May 2015. So 12th of the 5th 2015, and it was for rent at £510. So £510. Yeah. So again, I did some of those up here. Obviously, where you need to go back and take a look at it, where you'll be able to pick up that information. But essentially, they could be up for rent, or it could have been up for sale. So in here you'd say whether it's rent or sale, and include as many line items as times it's been up for rent or sale. What this is telling us is the person bought the property in 2006, 2007 at the height of the property market, i.e. so they paid a lot, and from that day there was a crash and the properties went down, and therefore they if they sold the property, they would get less for it than what they purchased it for. Which makes sense. And then over time, it obviously dropped for a time until it started to rise again. I mean, some parts of the UK, it's probably gone past where it was in 2007. In the markets that I tend to look in, it's still struggling to get above. So what we are looking for are people who want to sell, want to move on because they've got a new job, or they've got a growing family, or they split up, or whatever reason they need to move on from their current house, but they can't sell it for as much as they purchased it. So they're in what's called negative equity. So if they've tried to sell it multiple times, then obviously they need to get rid of. They're looking to get rid of it, and they've been unsuccessful. So that would then tell us that they're very motivated to sell. So we will be targeting them with a letter to say, can we help you either sell your property or to be able to move on. So that's the reason that we're doing this, and why we will create a list of addresses to send to, and then hopefully people will come back to us and say, yes, I'm interested in a conversation about how to sell my property, or how to relinquish control, because there's various ways to look at it. So that's hopefully simple, straightforward. Just go down a couple more and do another example. So let's just cut back here to this file. Let's just go down a few. Let's go down, and let's pick up something else down here. So we wouldn't pick this one up here, just to re-emphasize what I said earlier. We wouldn't pick this one up here because it was sold in 2011. So it actually sold for more, so they weren't in much of a negative equity. So we'll get to that. Let's go down a bit further. All these flats are interesting. Where are we here? So let's look at this one. So let's go back and find the postcode. So this is SA1 1SU. So let's go into Zoopla and put in SA1 1SU. That goes that one. Yep. And what property were we looking at? We were looking at Fisherman's Way number 9. So let's go down here. So when you come in here first time, you're going to want to look for an address order so you can find it as easily as possible. So we want number 9. So here we go, 308,000. So let's have a quick look at this one. So we'll go down to the bottom. Down. Okay, so again, this tells us that it sold 22nd June 2007. We know that. And this is good. So previously listed for sale on 17th November 2009 for 429,000. So they obviously were trying to make some money out of it. They bought it for 310, trying to sell it for 429, which seems a bit ambitious. They weren't able to sell it because there's no sold price beyond, so they're still there. Now, does that mean they're motivated? May do. They were trying to make quite a lot of money, so there might be ulterior reasons for doing that. That's a good example again, and we'd capture that because that gives us an indication of how motivated they are. Okay, and then you obviously come back, capture all the information in this sheet. When you then want to capture the the sold information, so you're doing a sold comparison, go back into Zoopla and come back out to the detail of that property and go to the top and just sort it on last sale date. And then that will tell us the last ones to sell, and that's a quick way of finding out which ones did it. Now if it comes up in this case and obviously you've got 5146, then include 3 or even 4 of them, because then what that tells us, gives us is an average of the average price, and just gives us a little bit more comfort in terms of understanding the prices. So hopefully that was useful. If you have any problems, then just ask and I'll record some more videos, but that should allow you then to fill out this Zoopla section around rent or sale date, and whether it's for sale, whatever the for sale price was, or the rent. And there could be many, if they've tried to resell it or rent it 10 times, then it could be 10 entries, and what that's really telling us is then how motivated they are. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you found that okay, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.